We have a couple of other topics, so I'm gonna get a little bit.
Yeah, the other ones we get to talk about a little bit more because they, it's our wheelhouse, especially what happened yesterday. I mean, yesterday was crazy, fam. Woke up at the crack of noon, and shit just went nuts.
Say that
because it was the crack of noon, man. It was, woof. But to see what was going on now. Tell us about your favorite show that you love to watch that you never miss an episode of.
It's nothing against actual, it's not even anything against, I don't say anything. It's really not too much against the Rising, but it is against the hypocrisy that we saw. So this whole conflict between this whole volcanic eruption that happened yesterday between the AOC sycophants and pretty much people who wanted to hold AOC accountable for literally not mentioning Julian Assange, for not, supporting any legislation regarding election integrity, whistleblower protections, but having the time to really make this whole Mean Girls situation about Tulsi, smearing Ilhan Omar, which is a complete lie. Tulsi never mentioned Omar's name. She should have not said the words Project Veritas because of their history. But here's what I wanted to point out. This situation is the hypocrisy of a lot of the left, right? Because The Hills Rising did an entire show using Project Veritas, and they got praised for it. I mean, literally, I didn't hear a single bad word about this episode, right? And it was about the footage of ABC covering up Epstein. And this is something that was exposed and was correct. I mean, this is something that Project Veritas actually got correct. But by the same token, though, Rising's crystal ball, who a lot of progressives are huge fans of, and she can't do no wrong, kind of like AOC, we have this tendency to put people on this pedestal. She went after Tulsi Gabbard multiple times for tweet mentioning Project Veritas. So I'm asking you guys, how do you like the hypocrisy? So let me first read her tweets, and then we'll watch a little bit of that video to just kind of get the point across. So she said, as someone who has defended Tulsi, and she was fair to Tulsi during the primary, it absolutely sucks that she's pushing this Project Veritas bullshit about Ilhan Omar. So she said that, of course, Niko went off. Niko said, Crystal, you need to do some research before you do what you quote Bernie or nobody people always do. Tulsi introduced a ballot harvesting bill weeks ago. That is true. She introduced this bill way before Project Veritas had anything to do with it. Has nothing to do with I think he meant Veritas, Omar, or anything else. Y'all just don't pay attention to her unless it's to attack her, which is true. A lot of the times the Bernie left, for the most part, and I didn't think this was true of Crystal, were the ones that went after Tulsi were looking for a reason to jump on her. I know because I saw it. And I was telling people this whole time, and you guys are witness to that. You should not do that. You guys should go after Elizabeth Warren instead, because Elizabeth Warren is she's the one that's gonna get there to take votes away from Bernie. And lo and behold, what happened? Oh, that exact freaking thing happened. And then she goes on to say that she said, oh, look, the Project Veritas ballot harvesting video attacking Ilhan Omar was a total and utter bullshit. Who could have predicted it? So the article basically said that the Ilhan Omar situation was bullshit. Everybody knows. Everybody knew that was bullshit. Nobody was saying, oh, yeah, all these lies about Ilhan Omar that have a racist narrative to them are real. Nobody was saying that except maybe the people who, really are racist and hate Ilhan Omar for those reasons. What people were talking about was the ballot harvesting, which is a very big issue. But see, I don't know, either we're all stupid or we just know that it's not about that and we have some sort of narrative to fill. I don't know anymore. But it was very clear that this had nothing to do with Ilhan Omar. So let's just play a little bit of that video to show immediately that they reference Project Veritas, please. Okay. So he goes on to play the video. The video is Project Veritas' video that they got and that they exposed. We played it here as well.
Yes, we did.
We used it.
Because nobody was really breaking stuff like that. Nobody really wanted to put this stuff out there, and except Project Veritas did. And I was like, thank you.
Okay, yeah. and I remember when Pasta brought it up, I was like, okay. Like, and multiple times when Zach Voorhees, I was like, I'm always hesitant because I don't like their spin on things, so I can't trust them, right? That is very, very true.
They have a Republican bias spin. There's no doubt about that. You can't avoid that.
Yeah, I mean, it's more than that to me, though. It's misinformation, a lot of it.
Yeah.
And so this, though, was I mean, they were just showing this video footage, so I didn't see really anything wrong with it. A lot of people talked about it. So my question is, why is everybody freaking out about Tulsi saying, hey, in a tweet, Project Veritas also showed this video. Literally, this is what they said. This is what a bunch of people used, including political figures. So I just want to know why there's a double standard here, because it's really stupid to me to see people like literally like have like this day where they're like, no, like you could be saying, oh my God, Tulsi like solved every major conflict in the world, but Project Veritas and Ilhan Omar, I mean, it's just like the same bullshit knee-jerk reaction that these people have without actually vetting the information and without realizing, hey, I might be a fucking hypocrite. If I still watch Rising, if I haven't canceled them because they're presenting this information using Project Veritas, then maybe I shouldn't be an asshole and pretend that now the elements are different when it comes to Tulsi Gabbard. There's no consistency in a lot of the neo-progressive left, and it's really, really getting tiring, as you could remember yesterday. I'm just so sick of it. I don't have time to deal with this bullshit. Like, we have real major conflicts that we could be talking about, but I'm wasting my time talking about this because I want to call it the hypocrisy in the faux left that thinks they are so above on a moral high ground. And it's all of these same people, also the vast majority of them, like 99.9% of them, are the same ones telling you to vote for Joe Biden, because that's what all these people are now doing. They're like, oh, you need to vote for Joe Biden because if you don't vote for Joe Biden, then you know Trump is going to win and third parties aren't ever going to work and blah, 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 blah. Why do you think that is?
You know, the moral high ground, like you said, dude, I call it the cloak of virtue that they wear, like they, you know what I'm saying? And then they're going around telling you to vote for Joe Biden. But really what bothers me more than anything, fam, is that we're not talking about the substance of what was going on. And as I'm doing more research on the subject, I'm always looking into election integrity and whatnot. Right. I'm seeing that this ballot harvesting bill is bigger than it really initially was, because the claim is that they're just sending out mail-in ballots everywhere. You know what I'm saying? To everybody. More than they've ever done before. So now if we got ballot harvesters that go out there and grab these ballots, you know what I'm saying, where people put, oh, this mail is going back, or maybe somebody goes through and grabs a ballot, you know what I'm saying, maybe they know people that pay for a couple bucks for a ballot. It's not untrue what was going on. Whether it came from Project Veritas, NBC, CBS, Fox, the TYT, or whatever, it doesn't make a difference. Ballot harvesting does go on. It's legal. In fact, we've had people from the Bernie campaign, hey, we'll pick up your ballot and take it in for you. Really?
The Democratic establishment has been ballot harvesting here in California for years.
Yeah.
And of course, progressive candidates lose here all the time. They accuse them of cheating the elections. Maria Estrada went, they told her, yes, the numbers were off, but it wouldn't matter anyway. They literally say that. This isn't a joke. This isn't like, oh, we're making this up because, I want to defend Tulsi Gabbard. This is not what this is. Literally, this has been going on forever. We've been talking about election issues forever. And people are like, but ballot harvesting is a bunch of bullshit. It's not. And I think we're going to have to do a whole video on ballot harvesting.
Yeah, I think we have have to do an actual video of what a
because you
ballot
guys
does.
are so wrong when you say that it's a nothing. Because I've seen way too many people be like, well, ballot harvesting is bad. It's a right wing thing, and it's like, no, it's not. Literally, North Carolina, we keep pointing to it because that was the one that showed that this is how Republicans do it too. Nobody is saying that ballot harvesting is the most important issue. I don't think it is at all, especially as knowing the machines, knowing all these things that happen behind the scenes. But you have to note that this election is going to be very different. This election, because of COVID, is going to have a primarily using the vote by mail, and they're pushing ballot harvesting. I'm going to have to collect all the messages I've had that have been pushing the vote by mail and the ballot harvesting sent to my phone directly. I mean, I have never been contacted this much by the Democratic Party in my life as I have this time. You could argue that, oh, it's because they really want to get Donald Trump out, or you could argue it's because they're really afraid of losing and they're finagling ways to really make this happen. Now, I don't like Trump or Biden, so I don't really care who wins. But what I am saying is I love the people worrying about election integrity now all of a sudden that the Democrats might lose. And I also could say the same thing about Donald Trump. Where were you when Bernie Sanders got cheated twice? Where's your interest in elections? I mean, there's just hypocrisy all around.
Well, yeah, that's the whole thing. It's a primary. And once again, the Democrats argued in court. They didn't say that they cheated. They argued they had the right to cheat and say that they can go into the back room, fill cigar smoke, so they didn't have to have a democratic process. And it is true. It is a corporation that can do what it wants to do. It doesn't have to go by the results of you, the people. And this whole election thing is a facade. But a general election is different than a primary. But how can we sit there and say that Donald Trump is stealing the 2020 election when the Democrats already stole it from Bernie Sanders in 2016 and in 2020? I mean, they literally did it. We don't, and that's the thing. People go, oh, there's never been a case of wide-scale voter fraud and whatnot. But here's the case, fam. If you're not looking for something, election fraud, voter fraud, they said there's never been a wide-scale of both of them. Yeah, they said voter fraud. You know what I'm saying?
Voter fraud to me is just not as relevant. Well, I don't think specific people go in there and do that. That is like the Democratic establishment pushing that. And I want to make that very clear. I don't believe that the vast majority of people commit voter fraud. Yeah, I don't believe people try to vote twice and all this other bullshit. And like, that's not really, we haven't seen that that's what happens. What we have seen that happens is that people in the Democratic Party manipulate things. They're like, oh, well, we'll take your ballots for you. Does it help a grandmother? Yes. But we don't live in a system. She can
put it in the mail. She can put it in the mail.
But we don't. Yeah. Yes,
we don't need anybody collecting. We don't live in a
system where we can trust somebody collecting that because there's no transparency. Is my point.
And the thing is that once again you got guys and maybe not be true, but Project Veritas. But there are people who go around collecting ballots, and if there's a lot more ballots out there right now, there's a lot more ways to swing the elections. They take these ballots, they can fill them out for whoever they want and turn them in, and they go in there because once again the whole system is. But what I was saying, fam, if you're not looking for something, will you find it? Probably not. If you're not looking for mistakes, errors, fraud, and all that thing, for instance, Los Angeles has a 1% audit, right? State of Washington, where they go, oh, mail-in ballots, they've been doing it for years, it works fine.
Can you explain to the audience what a 1% audit means?
They audit 1% of a hand count on 1% of the ballots in LA. And we don't even get to pick which 1%. They give us the 1% we can inspect.
Right.
So literally, there's no autopsy, there's no checks and balance, there's no audit process, you can't see it. They're just going to give you numbers, and you have to accept it. They're going to tell you the machine spit out these numbers that have proprietary software, so the tabulation part. They don't know if all the ballots that came in are verified, whatnot. You know, they talk about dead people voting and all this other stuff, and that does happen because those ballots are out there. And since there's very little security and little checks and balances, we can stuff the ballot box as Democrats if we wanted to, if we have the Secretary of State under our finger. And we do, as far as Democrats, not we, but the Democratic Party has the Secretary of State under his finger.
Yeah.
So they can't even check these things, you know what I'm saying?
But more than dead people voting, I just want to say it's a lot more of ballots not being counted.
That too.
You know, people like ballots being like place for a certain candidate, etc. And the machines, to me, are overall the main issue. What he said, the proprietary
tabulation
software, the tabulation, etc. That they can be hacked. I mean, this documentary that we've been working on, the interviews we've done, really pretty much shows all of this. And you guys have seen, all you have to do is go to the elections thing on our YouTube, and you can find all of the issues that are wrong with our voting system. I don't think like ballot harvesting is a number one issue at all, but it's not even her first, Tulsi Gabbard's first address of the voting issue. She'd had her act in 2017, and she's talked about a lot of these things, not just that. So again, there's a lot of hypocrisies, a lot of misinformation regarding ballot harvesting. It's a nonpartisan issue. Stop trying to make it a left versus right issue, because it's not. And so I wanted to also point out a couple things on.
I just want to say too, though, it is not the biggest issue. We've talked about it for this particular election with the COVID and the mail-in situation. It does very much come into play.
Yeah,
and we should eliminate it right now. If anybody, they should put up or shut up. Like a grandma who has a ballot, who can't get out, should put it in the mail. But that's what we talked about. We need up to the second tracking on these ballots right now, so they are not out of sight. Just like when Amazon is 20 minutes around the corner, you know, they're like making a left turn on Orange Grove, be there in 18 minutes with your package. We need something to that significance, so we know exactly what's going out, who had the ballot, and who sent it back.
Well, for me,
we don't need anybody collecting ballots there. That's a bullshit thing that they've implemented. So,
well, for me, the Democrats have taken advantage of both parties, but particular of like they took advantage of the COVID during the primary to get rid of Bernie Sanders. And so I don't put it past them to take advantage of the situation to really like make sure that they win. But at the same time, it's just they both cheat. Like they're both going to cheat. I really don't.
They do, fam. It's like a cartel. It's like your areas, especially with that new law that the Supreme Court shot down years ago that said the states now can regulate their own thing.
Right.
So it actually becomes like a cartel having territory, cheating within your own areas. And the main goal is between the Democrats and the Republicans, don't let any third party get above 5%.
They don't want, exactly.
That's their main goal together.
That's the main thing. Like, don't get, and then so people can be like, see, third parties don't work. They're never going to happen. And they keep voting for the lesser of evils, and it keeps happening over and over again. And every 4 years, they'll say, you can't do that. You have to vote against this person. Every 4 years, it keeps happening over and over again. So honestly, in my opinion, we need to go after the source of the problem, which is the machines, the way the election system is run, the lack of transparency, all of these things. But
it's like systemic issues.
It's systemic
across the board.
Yeah, I think ballot harvesting is just one issue. Like as soon as the COVID's done, we're gonna go back to most people voting in machines, or it's still gonna. A lot of people just want to facilitate it and vote from home and do the mail-in ballots, but those aren't secure either. So again, we have to go right at the core, rotten core problem of the system. And so, if we can't even have a discussion though on what ballot harvesting is, we're never going to get there, because you guys are dismissing election integrity in an effort to own a politician that you don't like. So we're never going to be able to talk about it, and we're never going to resolve the issue, because you're making it a partisan issue, and you're making it I don't like Tulsi and she's a right winger, so this is all bullshit. That's what I'm seeing across the board in the progressive commentator circle, in the progressive Twitter world. Oh yeah, but ballot harvesting isn't a thing. It is, and you guys don't know. You guys didn't even know shit about ballot harvesting until Tulsi Gabbard brought it up, and it was an opportunity to really knock her down again. And it's just like it just keeps happening, and it's just so tiring.
Remember
and
that?
Stupid.
Remember when we were hearing back in the 2020 primary out here, and we were gearing up, and we were hearing like the Bernie clan, the campaign going, take your mail-in ballot and turn it into the box. In fact, you can give it to one of our supporters and stuff, and they'll take it in for you. And we were like, that doesn't seem right over there. No. That's like a form of ballot harvesting. Yeah. It's really bad against the chain of custody.
Right.
Like really, and once again, we can still talk about this, fam, when we talk about the whole IDing thing. Like I'm for just any form of ID, if it's a bill or anything, just something. But once again, the showing up and voting part, I know you're not, but even still, though, it's not the area that's really at risk. Not one person is going to be able to really change an election by going and voting several times or 4 or 5 times. Yeah. It's when you can get mass amounts of fraud.
When the lines are so long and everything's a mass, how the hell would you want to vote 5 times?
If you try to vote...
That is, to me, a right-wing talking point, that you need an ID to vote. Like, it disenfranchises a lot of people. Yeah. Like, I am not for that it by any means. And
I am.
I will
I'm
absolutely.
you can bring an electric bill, any form of ID. I don't care what it is.
If you're a college student, you don't always have that shit. If you're poor, you don't always have an electric bill. You don't always have a place to where you live. We shouldn't be disenfranchising the poor. We shouldn't be disenfranchising people who are having a hard time, because those are the people that are going to vote for more progressive issues too. So to me, that is really doing a disservice to get from getting anything we want. But at its core, we need to make the system trusting so we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
That's the solution.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you can shut up right wingers by making the system completely transparent, so they can't just say, oh well, these illegals are voting. That's how you shut up. You make it completely transparent, and you do it so it's easy and accessible for everyone to vote, including poor people, including felons. And that's that. I don't give a shit. But it has to be transparent. We can't pretend that our election system is perfect and that all of a sudden that now Trump wants to cheat, that it's just a problem now because the Democrats, they never cheat. Come on. Like, let's be honest about this, and let's have an approach to really solve the problem at its core.
Yeah, and the problems are systemic. And if you look at it like the way, and we're watching this whole thing about the prison system here in the United States. There's this documentary that's going on, and the actual way they book people, arrest people, people of color, how they're arrested at 4 or 5 times the rate for smoking marijuana or whatever and stuff like that. That is like the absentee ballot part. It needs to be reformed. We need to reform that whole part of our criminal justice system, the way the cops do business, what they do, what they get away with. That's like the absentee ballot part. Now you talk about the tabulation, that's like the sentencing part, you know what I'm saying? The way they sentence people, they use those Rockefeller laws, the way that crack cocaine had such a higher charge than cocaine itself, than regular cocaine. That, in emulation, is kind of like the tabulation system where they do unfair things. We have systemic problems within our election system across the board that we need to sit down, have a serious conversation, and fix, because this part of our democracy is one of the most important parts, because with it we can change out the leaders who've let us down so much, who've oppressed so many people. We can get rid of them if we fix this right here. You don't think that third parties can come into play? If we fix this, we'll have third parties singing out there in freaking Congress in no time, fam.
Well, I mean, I think we need ranked choice voting for that to happen.
That is also another issue. Yeah.
I'm not gonna do is punish voters for a system that's corrupt.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna make it harder for them to vote because the system is corrupt.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I am completely against any of that stuff. Like, because if I'm gonna have to ask for an ID on someone, then there's something wrong with the system. The system is corrupt, and we need to fix it, not blame the voters and make them work twice as hard to actually get to the polls, which it's already hard to get to the polls. It's already a mess. So we can't make it worse.
You know how they fix that too as well? They can tell, all right, listen, we're not going to ask for ID, but at the end we're going to make sure that we cross-reference so that one individual can't vote more than once. And we'll have a system in play that will show that. I guarantee the Republicans will be fine as long as they make sure, I'm saying, that's one thing that they'll want. But once again, that's a small area of what's really going on. The fact that there are mass amounts of mail-in ballots right now, the fact that there's not a lot of tracking on these things, that the security on the mail-in ballots is ridiculous. So you can get a bunch of them, of people who never voted, ballot harvesting of sorts. Somebody filled it out, whatever they want, push them through the machine, and they'll count for one team or another. And that's something that we need to do away with. But Anna.
I just wanted to point out a little bit of the hypocrisy. I know we kind of went off on a tangent, but
it's photo election,
Yeah,
that's our thing.
Anna Kasparian, of course, had something to say. In case you want to correct the record, Tulsi Gabbard, I mean, she was right there. And Alex Knight did us the favor, did her the favor of sharing her. In case you want to correct the record, Anna Kasparian,
and
he
Alex
showed our
Knight.
video,
yeah,
which was really cool. And let's look at,
because it's so funny that we're not even. They make this all about the Mean Girls mentality, right? We're not talking about the actual systemic issue here. What we need to have a conversation about, and I can't believe that the Bernie left is not there with us. They cheated you hardcore. They cheated us in 2016, right? Ridiculous amount. We're talking about Brooklyn had all these voters purged from the rolls. Arizona closed down 80% of their polling places for a Democratic primary, right? What else? Nevada, what we saw went on over there. Harry Reid pulling out his tricks. We had all the information and the receipts from WikiLeaks, what they were doing, how they were trying to really demonize Bernie Sanders, all this, this consolidated effort against him. And then all of a sudden, the exit polls, all the flipping of cities and everything in California was ridiculous. But once again, California is one of those spots. It's order by chaos. They throw a chaotic system at you, and it's just so confusing that you just accept the results. You accept the fact that Joe Biden got all those votes when he didn't.
And Johnny, I'm just gonna go to the AOC section. Well, AOC ignored Tulsi Gabbard's question, and her the call to talk about Assange from literally so many people. I don't know how many times Gloria Jones has contacted AOC's office, but it's been a lot of a lot of times. Yeah. But a lot of people have been trying to get AOC to speak out on Julian Assange. She has yet to respond to that. She also didn't respond to Tulsi's question of, will you support this bill regarding ballot harvesting? She
apologized too.
If not, why? We went over it yesterday.
Yeah.
I just wanted to point out your tweet, Pasta.
Pasta learns Twitter.
So AOC won't respond to Tulsi Gabbard's tweet. However, at least with this tweet, we have proof that Alex has her priorities right. We know the color of her lipstick. So look, I don't want to harp on this because
who did Demi Mate is a game changer. In Game Changer, is that a good one, fam? What's Demi Mate or Demi Mate? The lipstick she's talking about.
Oh,
AOC.
it's just the name of the lipstick, fam.
Okay.
Don't overthink it.
Is it good stuff?
No,
All right,
I have no idea.
I mean, if it was good stuff, it's worth talking about. We can avoid talking about election integrity.
Look, I'm not going to harp on this because of the lipstick thing, but I am going to say, why hasn't she spoken out on the important pieces of legislation that Gabbard has? Why does she have time to criticize her? She comes out of a corner every so often just to criticize her, never to be like, hey, I'll work on this with you. Even Ilhan has co-sponsored legislation with Tulsi Gabbard. But AOC, she's just been entirely just silent, entirely not present at all. And it's really telling to me that the only time she ever comes out to say something against Tulsi Gabbard is to really say something like, oh, you should have impeached. Oh, you should have said this. Oh, it's never anything positive.
Yeah.
But what has she done?
Well, I mean, she tried to put out a bill that censored advertising for military recruitment on Twitch. Let's not forget about that, the Green New Deal. And in fact, it's funny because there's an old school tweet where AOC was supporting the Fossil Fuels Act back in the days, remember? And they were congratulating each other. We talked about this stuff. Darren Levy also put, thank you for the super chat, Darren Levy. We love you. There's a reason the progressives who shill for AOC are attacking Gabbard. It is because Gabbard is a threat to AOC being Bernie's successor. I also think these shills will attack Nina as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I don't see Nina getting along with a lot of them. I haven't seen evidence of that, but I just I do think Tulsi Gabbard, being in the picture during the whole Bernie campaign, was a threat, and that's why they smeared her, did away with her, and it was both the people in the progressive wing and the Democratic Party. They both did the same exact thing to really make it so it was Elizabeth Warren that was Bernie Sanders' BFF, even though a lot of us were like, hello, Elizabeth Warren is a fake. She told you she was a fake back in 2016. What the hell are you doing? Why are you doing this again? And of course, unfortunately, it turned out Elizabeth stabbed Bernie in the back 100 times, and he's still calling her my good friend. And now AOC and Elizabeth Warren are working on things together. You notice who she's working with?
Yeah.
You guys, it takes literally 10 seconds for me to look at her Twitter to know that she's not the person you think she is.
Let me tell you something, Joe. If Pocahontas would have dropped out 2 days ago, you wouldn't have won a primary.
That was kind of a Bernie Sanders, not a Donald Trump.
I was trying to do my Donald Trump because they're both New York. I get them mixed up. But remember when he said that too as well? We're talking about them working together and what really the results of Elizabeth Warren staying in this race and what it really did to Bernie Sanders and why. For what reason? You know what I'm saying? And
exactly.
and this is a great tweet you're putting up here.
That was pushed by the progressives,
Yeah.
Dem socks. Okay, so Grumpy Birdie is grumpy like me. And he says, by the way, AOC and Ilhan also owe Tulsi a public apology for amplifying imperialists who came out with fraudulent stories about Tulsi being a Russian foreign agent. What a hypocrite. This can't just go one way. Exactly. Tulsi already apologized and she's still getting slapped.
What is he talking about here, though?
What do you mean?
Which story?
The Russia.
How did AOC amplify it, though?
They literally were didn't say anything against Hillary Clinton. Didn't defend her.
They didn't come out when all right. I see.
Yeah. And they I think Ilhan Omar actually tweeted like what Hillary Clinton said with like eyeballs, like I'm watching. And during that whole time, and during that whole time, she had just done a podcast with The Intercept where she like verbally said no Tulsi, like something against Tulsi Gabbard. I remember.
Well, that was with the vote, right? I remember AOC went after Tulsi with the vote.
No, I was talking about Ilhan Omar.
Ilhan Omar. Yeah. Okay, so I didn't. Yeah, but, I got to catch up on that stuff.
But even further than that, I would say the Assad situation, where Tulsi was maligned as being an Assad apologist for talking to Bashar al-Assad, and of course we now know with everything that's been released that the Syrian chemical attacks were entirely fabricated. They were entirely fabricated, and so was Russiagate. So really, I think the vast majority of these people owe this woman who was smeared as a Russian asset, as an Assad puppet, as an Assad toady, an apology. Right? Like, I mean, if you're going to be fair, you don't have to freaking agree with Tulsi. You don't even have to like her. Yeah. But you can admit that you were fucking wrong on Russiagate, that it was a conspiracy theory, and that it is just as bull crap as QAnon is, or as a lot of the Project Veritas stuff you guys were talking about. Why is Russiagate so much more acceptable as a conspiracy than all this other crap? Because it's blue anon. That's what it is. It's the same bullshit. And I just want to say that I just can't. Like, it's
Robbie
just
Yeager,
so stupid.
I mean, this is so great here too as well, because we have all these documents released, and I was like reading this. I didn't go to sleep last night for an extra half hour while I read this article, and I looked into actual conversations that were going on in Fox Business between what's her name, Maddow, I can't even say her name, the Italian woman, but she was kind of reading verbatim what was going on and what was released. And we talked about this on the show yesterday and the day before. It's that, like, no, it came out. It was a conspiracy drummed up by the Clinton campaign and Robbie Mook.
Obama.
Yeah, Jimmy Dore talked about Obama knew about it.
Yeah.
I mean, this was a soft coup that was going on right here. And the hypocrisy is just ridiculous. Robbie wrote, anyone, and I mean this literally, who believed or pushed Russiagate has zero place to talk shit about Project Veritas or call anyone conspiracy theorists. This is what blue anon morons look like.
And the vast majority of the people who Russiagated are the same people freaking the hell out on this whole Tulsi Gabbard thing, including TYT, including Anna, including Chick, including all these people that, you know, David Dowells and all these people, like, they literally were pushing the Russiagate narrative. In fact, it was very few people, usually the usual suspects, that were able to see.
Joe Biden did it the other day.
That Russiagate was a hoax from the start.
Yeah.
The vast majority.
Putin's puppy, he called him, or whatever. I mean, I think he wanted to say puppet.
People are still saying that. People are still saying that. I get called a Russian every other day. This is why I make fun of it, and this is why Putin's my boyfriend, because he might as well be, because this is how insane these people are. It's insane, and they're still bringing up Jill Stein too.
Yeah,
it's disgusting. So if you believed in Russiagate, also you're a hypocrite, because that is just as bad, if not worse.
Oh, it's way
than
worse.
all this crap,
because
it's literally completely fabricated, and the CIA declassified documents to prove it. So shut the F up about Russiagate. Shut the F up about Project Veritas or PragerU or all this crap. It's all conspiracy, fine, but you got to be consistent in calling out conspiracy. Why is MSNBC better when they literally have CIA propagandists hired? You have to, like, literally be an intelligence asset to work for MSNBC. Why are they seen as less worse than, like, a crazy loony PragerU or a Project Veritas? Like, they're lying. Like, the whole mainstream media lies. So don't come at me with a moral superiority of, oh, she mentioned da-da-da-da, when your favorite progressives are mentioning it too, and you're not saying shit.
Yeah, and it's just so telling, the fact that when Tulsi went back at AOC and Ilhan, apologized about Veritas, and once again, you know, the reason why this story has so much more legs than Russiagate never happened. They declassified all the information. They saw Brennan's notes. Obama knew. They made this up. This was a soft coup on the way out. That's why it's so funny when I hear people saying Donald Trump's not going to give up power. Like, well, look what Obamagate. Look what they did on the way out. I mean, Jesus, they should be going to jail for this thing. They use the intelligence department as their sick dogs. But when it comes to ballot harvesting goes on, and it is legal. It's legal. So the fact that they can't even come back and talk about the substance of what's going on, that there's silence about it, and they're making about this, it's Mean Girl. And I see that whole neo-progressive, Bernie kind of left that's really just drumming to that same beat about the thing. Yeah, that was racist. It was wrong. They went out after Ilhan Omar the way she did. It's bullshit.
Nobody went after Ilhan. No, Tulsi didn't go after Ilhan Omar.
God.
The usual people who go after Ilhan Omar go after Ilhan Omar.
Yeah.
And she's spoken out against it multiple times. Now, I put this up because I thought,
wow, fam,
because I genuinely feel that even though you don't see it now, you will see it later. And by the time you see it, it'll be too late. I think that AOC is a Barack Obama for this generation. I think she absolutely is.
Tweet.
She's getting a lot of the Gen Z to fall in love with her. And I'm asking people to change my mind, really. And I've read a lot of the replies, and they're like, well, she supports a Green New Deal, Medicare for all, so she's not a sellout. That's not the only things that indicate being a sellout or not being a sellout, by the way. I just want to throw that out there. Like, those aren't the only two issues that matter to people, especially because it's so much easier to support those issues verbally than actually to do any legislation to push it. And it's also so much easier to push those issues than it is to go after the security state and hold them accountable, and to go after the military-industrial complex, and to go after the foreign policy. And when I see people already, like literally since 2 years ago, saying that they want AOC to be president, that they think she's the next Bernie Sanders, I started saying when they were like, I think she's the next Bernie Sanders, I started saying, I was being nice. I was like, I think she's more of an Elizabeth Warren than a Bernie Sanders. But now she's kind of graduating. She's graduating to me. She's becoming more of that Obama-esque, because Obama had this charisma. He was easily liked. People till this day will defend him, even though he's a fucking war criminal. Okay? And he started regime change wars all over the place. Took us from 2 to 8 wars. And literally laid everything out for Trump to exploit, and literally led us to the election of Donald Trump. Years and years of neoliberalism that preceded him, in addition to his presidency and his lack of doing anything for the working people when he had both houses of Congress. But I digress because it's that charisma. It's that ability to really say the right words, use this leftist jargon, and pretend that you will have hope and change, and we need to come together, and that we need to hold these Republicans, and we need to get them out, and we need to blah, blah, blah. He tricked people. He tricked Pasta, tricked himself.
Yeah.
I voted for him.
Tricked me twice.
I mean, tricked a lot of people who were waiting for somebody, waiting for somebody. And some people noticed right away after his first term. Others didn't notice till later. To me, that is extremely dangerous. It is one of the most dangerous things that can happen because you don't see it coming, right? It's the wise guy thing. You don't see it coming.
They come as your friends, not your enemy.
They come as your friend.
That's how I knew it was cops,
It's not just a goon. It's your friend.
Because only cops talk like that. Turn off the effing car now. This has got a lot of play, too. But, fam, I want to digress, to also the issues, because this is what we're talking about. What Obama did was very, very dangerous. When you have a lack of foreign policy knowledge, you can go off and start doing stuff, and nobody's going to call you on it. When she talks about 2 to 8 wars, she ain't lying. He did the whole trick of, I'm going to bring my troops home. And remember, this guy got elected after the Iraq war to bring our troops home. He brings the troop home. Then he amps up the drone warfare tenfold, which kills mostly civilians.
Obviously,
it's ridiculous.
Obviously, AOC hasn't done that yet.
No.
Obviously, because she's not president. She's only been there for 2 years.
But we know the lack of the foreign policy when we ask her about Venezuela, and she says she's going to defer to the caucus leadership. And she hasn't made any big statements about anything that's going on. She just virtue signals about people dying in Yemen.
It's about her coziness. You talk about Tulsi's coziness to the Republican Party. We can argue about that. I feel like she's too welcoming sometimes myself. But at the same time, that's always how she's been. That's her whole thing. She's always talking to people she disagrees with, etc. That's her whole thing. We followed her campaign too. I followed Bernie's. There was a clear difference into who was supporting Bernie and Tulsi. Some of them, converged, but there was a lot of people that were on the right or independents or whatever that really liked her. And whatever, and it worked for her, whatever. But regarding AOC, she cozies up to the Democratic establishment, not just Mama Bear, Hillary Clinton, Kamala Harris. You can go through her Twitter and look at who she props up and who she retweets and all of these things that happen. Rachel Maddow literally going after saying crap about Tulsi, going on Rachel Maddow. That was like chef's kiss, fam. It was like, oh, there's your girl. Of course. Yeah. Of course, I don't take like... People can go on different shows for exposure. Bernie Sanders has been on Rachel Maddow, right? But it's different when you're a person that I can see you are a climber. You hear more about your career. You care more about bashing Republicans because that's what gets you popularity. That's why she gets all these centrists to go with her because of her bashing of Republicans. I have yet to really see her hardly go after the Democrats, especially during this pandemic. She didn't really go after the Democrats. She could have had an opportunity to be like, you know what? Yeah, Republicans are awful, and even if I think they're worse, I think they're worse, but these Democrats haven't helped us all at all. We need to blah, 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 blah. She didn't do that. She's not doing that, and she's not going to do that. Yeah, and also with the foreign policy, maybe I should digress a little bit back to when she was in Venice. She did say our foreign policy is our domestic policy is our foreign policy. Which is hilarious because Tulsi has said that after she criticized Tulsi on the impeachment vote, she really legitimately used Tulsi's words in Venice Beach in a speech. But also, family, the other issue too is the civil liberties, the lack of civil liberties from the people on the left. You have to understand these things. Obama persecuted and jailed more whistleblowers using the Espionage Act to any president before him. Yep. So once again, he set the table for Donald Trump to do what he wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? He silenced people who spoke out against the state. You know, Snowden had to bail when Obama was in office and whatnot, the NSA. So the fact that you guys don't understand these things or look into these things and you think it's just a right-wing talking point when we say we have to protect our civil liberties, we have to protect our First Amendment rights. Right now, Facebook has deplatformed QAnon. And I see people on there going, this is great that they did this, way to go, finally, it's about time. No, you can't do that. You have to have an arena where political discourse or social issues or whatever you want to call it, conspiracy theories, are open for everybody to talk about. Open debate. It's very, very important. Once you start silence on one side, they'll go for your side. That's the thing. Even if QAnon is conspiracy, even if it's fake, the moment we cancel it, literally, they could literally say this show is fake, it's conspiracy theory, and completely cancel it. I mean, that's the problem. And they'll do it to you, and they'll do it to somebody else. That's the problem. I don't have to like QAnon or what they say or agree with them, but they have the right to say it. And that is as libertarian as it gets. And this is why I'm more libertarian than you. No, but I just, I'm just kidding. I'm not. But I just want to point out that, you know, that is a very good point you made, because I'm not defending QAnon, but I am saying, like, what happened with Alex Jones on YouTube is what's really screwed a lot of the indie media who's talking about imperialism, who's talking about, you know, like holding these politicians accountable, what the DNC does, the CIA, declassified information, all these things that we talk about are constantly silenced now or demonetized because of precedents set by Alex Jones. And I am of the personal belief, if something is fake and wrong, if you hide it, people are going to find a way to get to it anyway. Yeah. And they're going to believe in it. Voice, You're going to elevate that voice. Exactly. In order to show how awful, even Trump, people want to get him out of Twitter. Like, why? You need to show how awful he is. Do it. If you silence him, you're only going to elevate him and his base. That's all you're going to do. And so that's why I firmly am entirely against censorship. Not every leftist agrees. Some leftists are more like, no, we need to make sure that the information we get is correct and people could vote on it. Correct. That's for the people to decide. The people should decide. That's for us to decide what's correct and what's not. It's no private entities, no government, etc. That's it. Once we open up that can of shitworms, fam, it leads to a whole bunch of form of suppression, and it's just like an authoritarian kind of mindset that will put a boot on your neck. I mean, I know that QAnon is more like a message board, so I know they're moving on to their next thing. That's what they've already been doing, that because some of the people who come in there and do the Q drops are really fugazious. I think some are coming into the CIA to make it so outlandish that you shut down everything. But you know, I'm saying they're going to move on and do what they have to do anyways. But you do kind of slow down their momentum
momentum of what's going on, but then you make the public more curious. They shut down QAnon. What's going on over there?
Right.
Oh, where's their next message board? They're going to go
Right.
over to it. So you're just elevating them anyways by doing this.
Especially an uneducated public that's scared, that doesn't trust in the government.
Yeah.
You're literally elevating their conspiracy theories now because they're going to be like, well, if they got rid of QAnon, it must be for a reason.
They must have some stuff on there.
Exactly. And lack of education right now is at an all-time high because everybody's like, you know, scared and there's people are at home. They're not going to school. Like, it's crazy right now.
And the empire education itself sucks, right, Johnny?
Absolutely. Empire education.
Not even just a lack of education. With the education they're giving to you, it's just brainwash propaganda, just like our mainstream media news is and stuff. Because the thing with AOCs, do you ever see AOC go on any tough show right now? Somebody who's going to push back from her from the left? You ever see her go on a Convo couch? She won't even go on Jimmy Dore anymore. No. Why? She can't. She was told she's not allowed to.
She should go on Joe Rogan.
She won't do it.
Exactly.
She won't do it. She goes to her safe places where it's all about just attacking the Republicans, Republican right bad, and that's it. She won't do it. She won't do it.
Exactly.
She won't go on she won't go on a Dave Rubin. She won't go on anybody who would push back on her. But you saw what
happens when people like Tulsi Gabbard went on shows like that. They were like, oh, she's a right-winger.
But he was pushing back on her, you know what I'm saying?
Bernie Sanders went on freaking Fox, and he got a lot of those Republicans to be like, well, this isn't the crazy socialist I thought he was when he went on Joe Rogan. All these people who were on the right were like, wow, he actually makes a lot of sense.
And they chastise
That's what you get. That's what you get when you speak to people you don't agree with. You show them that they're wrong.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
With Gloria Jones the other day when she went over to talk to those people, talk about Assange, you find a way. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to see us going to battle and war in the streets. I don't want to just see somebody who says, okay, that's a Trump person, they're a Nazi, I hate them, I'm not going to talk to them. I want to see them, despite their differences, and saying, well, I believe these people are really wrong. I believe they're standing behind policy that has hate on it, but I'm going to go talk to them and tell them why I'm wrong. When that person goes, why do you hate us so much? I wanted somebody to tell you, because what you're standing for is hate. To tell Mexico is sending us their dirtiest, their awful and whatnot, that's a racist kind of mentality. And Donald Trump got a lot of you guys to get on board for the wall. And then hear his point about, no, that's not true. They're just trying to protect our borders. You can go back and forth, but as long as we have the conversations, the discourse, like you said, like we said, I've been saying this for a long time, and so have a lot of people. We have a lot more in common. Those people over there on that Save the Children rally, or the Trump people, than the elites do, than Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and Donald Trump. They're so far away and outside
from
of what
us.
From
they
us.
have more common with each other. They're
exactly.
Friends.
They're
they
friends.
Hang out. They
and
go to each other's weddings.
And that's something that has to be pointed out. So it's like we need to have conversations and talks, not be pitted against each other. It's a sad state of affairs. I hope we can get over it.